What is a true fact so baffling, it should be false? The youngest mother to give birth became pregnant at 4 years old. To give birth. That qualification implies something so much worse. A morbidly obese person can survive with absolute starvation without any sickness or feeling ill, under close control. There have been studies since 60s. There is a patient in 1973 who went under a 382-day starvation diet for therapeutic purposes under close control with only vitamin and mineral supplements, and water intake without protein, carbohydrate or fat intake, no food at all. Dropped from 207 kilograms to 88 kilograms and maintained it. After a follow-up checkup 5 years later, the patient was 96 kilograms, stabilized. Prolonged fasting had no ill effects. If anybody is curious about the article, the PubMed ID is PMC 2,495,396. Keep in mind, for anyone tempted to imitate, multiple others attempted this after him and wound up dead. Do not try this at home. It requires very strict supervision. From what I remember, a lot of deaths are from when they start eating again. You have to start back extremely slowly. Wait, I remember this came up recently in another thread. It's called refeeding syndrome. Find this link in the video description. Close bracket. People were deliberately infected with malaria to cure their syphilis. And the man who developed this treatment, Julius Wanajoreg, find this link in the video description, received the Nobel Prize for it. The extremely high fevers of the malaria infections killed the syphilis bacteria. Then the patients were cured of the malaria using quinine. Quinine is the reason tonic water glows under black light. Till tonic water glows under black light. Yeah, why da fuck aren't we all serving gin and tonics at Halloween parties? Some of us are. Well, of course the booze which is serving gin and tonics at the Halloween party. Giraffe seat bones. Of all the possible giraffe facts to go with, you don't go with the fact that giraffe liver and bone marrow might be a hallucinogen. Find this link in the video description. Closed bracket question mark. The life of Frane Seluk, the luckiest unlucky man in the world. January 1962, Frane is riding on a train through a freezing canyon when it fell into an icy river. All 17 other passengers died while he escapes with a broken arm and hypothermia. 1963, on his first plane trip he was sucked out of the plane's door and landed in a haystack, unscathed. 19 other people were killed in the crash. 1966, he was riding in a bus when it skidded off the road into yet another icy river. 4 passengers drowned, while he only received some minor cuts and bruises. 1970, his car's engine burst into flames while he was driving, but he managed to escape before it exploded. 1973, in yet another driving incident, his car's engine was doused with hot oil from a broken fuel pump. This caused flames to shoot through the air vents, singing off all of his hair. He was otherwise unharmed. 1995, he was hit by a bus, but only sustained minor injuries. 1996, to escape a head-on collision with a United Nations truck on a mountain curve, he swerved into a guardrail that broke on impact. To save himself, he jumped out of his car's open door and grabbed onto a tree branch as he watched his car plummet off the cliff. Suffice to say, the guy had a complicated relationship with the Grim Reaper. He also won the lottery, I think. Yup, in 2003, he won $1.1 mil in US dollars. In 2010 he gave the rest of his money to friends and family as he wanted to live more frugal life. Casually forgetting to mention you won the lottery because your life is so eventful. I feel the odds of falling from a plane in a haystack are way lower than winning the lottery though. Ireland was a net exporter of food during the Great Potato Famine. That's what caused the famine. The Brits exported all the food and the Irish were left with only one small kind of potato for themselves, which then was afflicted with disease. More people died making the V2 rockets during WW2 than were killed by them. It says fail rate is over 80%. Find this link in the video description. Close bracket. I personally know someone who in his carry-on accidentally packed a loaded handgun, made it on the plane, and was so freaked out when he landed, he upped it back home and took a Greyhound bus after his trip. A total friend of mine did the same with a folding knife. Switzerland has accidentally invaded Liechtenstein thrice in the last 50 years. Find this link in the video description. Close bracket. On the first time in 1976, Swiss military got lost and ended up in Liechtenstein, so the Liechtensteiners offered them drinks like proper hosts. On the second time in 1992, Swiss military forgot that a certain observation post was actually not in Swiss territory, but in Liechtenstein territory, so they just said sorry and forgot about it. Then again in 2007, the Swiss army got lost and entered Liechtenstein, but eventually realized they weren't in Switzerland anymore. Toto. So they turned back. Liechtenstein didn't even know this happened till the Swiss apologized again, to which they basically said, no problem, bro. Takeaways. The Swiss army are bad with directions. The Liechtenstein army people are chill brothers. According to Wikipedia, Liechtenstein doesn't have military, it has a police force that consists of 87 field officers and 38 civilian staff, totaling 125 employees. Been there and it seems like they have more banks than people. The color orange is named after the fruit. Before, the color orange was called red. This is why people with orange hair are called redheads. An eyewitness to Lincoln's assassination at Ford's Theater told his story on national television. Link. Find this link in the video description. Crazy how well Matt Damon has aged. Only 4 people have been to the Challenger Deep, the deepest part of the ocean. One of those people is James Cameron, the director of Titanic. Didn't he make the movie Titanic as an excuse to visit the actual wreck? From 1613 and 1620 a samurai traveled to Rome by way of Mexico. During this time, Shakespeare was still alive. Virginia had been founded for around a decade. Galileo was accused of heresy, and Pocahontas arrived in England. He met the Pope. He was made a Roman citizen. His name was Hasekura Tsuneniga, and was the last Japanese person to officially visit Europe, until around 1860. Is there a diagram or map or something of how that trip was made? Find this link in the video description. There is. Talk about taking the long way. President John Tyler, born in 1790, has 2 living grandsons. A similar one I like is that there is a living person who is the daughter of a US Civil War veteran, at least as of 2017. And she gets to draw a Civil War veteran's pension. Rabbit Bunny. A million seconds ago was week before last, July 24th. A billion seconds ago was 1988, 1987. Ed. Made some rounding errors. We're looking at November, 1987. Never thought of large numbers like this before. Kinda puts some people's wealth into perspective. Mike the headless chicken lived without a head for 18 months. Find this link in the video description. A 500 pounds. Cigarette smoking, beer drinking brown bear named Wojtek was enlisted and served in the Polish army during WWII. Private Wojtek helped the Polish win the brutal Battle of Mont Cassino, and was even promoted to corporal. Following the war, he retired in Scotland. Amazing share. I will name my firstborn son Wojtek. Wojtek is a totally normal Polish name, so Polish people will just assume he's Polish. And beer drinking brown bears will assume he's a bear. Cheetahs can't roar, but they can meow like house cats. Whoa, is this legit? Googling now. Cute, then scary. Find this link in the video description. The longest time between 2 twins being born is 87 days. I see these threads a bunch, but this answer has me interested. Gonna look up the source on that one. If every single person on the entire planet took part in a rock paper scissors contest, where everyone paired up and played, losers were knocked out, and winners stayed on etc., you would only have to win 33 times in a row to beat all 7.53 billion people on the planet. There is no universally accepted definition of vegetable. It's a cultural and culinary term, and varies from place to place. If my son hates it, it's a vegetable. Problem solved. Inches. There are over 9 million variations after just 3 moves each. 288 billion different possible positions after 4 moves each. In a complete game there are more possible positions than there are electrons in the observable universe. Yet it's still the Sicilian every game. There were more planes destroyed in World War II than there are currently intact planes on Earth today. I mean, everyone was making a shit ton of planes. Saddam Hussein was an erotic romance novelist in his spare time as the dictator of Iraq. Source. Find this link in the video description. Close bracket. Is that why his character is such a romantic in the South Park movie? Come on. Do I. There is an extremely rare condition called stone man syndrome. It causes any smallest damage done to tissue to regrow into a bone. Speaking briefly, people affected by this sickness slowly turn into living statues as they get older. Wikipedia. Surgical removal of the extra bone growths has been shown to cause the body to repair the affected area with even more bone. I'll never sleep again. Adult patients eventually have to decide on what position they wish to predominantly take for the rest of their lives. This was creepier for me. I'll take the coffin pose please, and if you could, just go ahead and throw me the fuck in it because I'm done. Just make me into a Kotrak. If you're launching from Earth, the most difficult place to reach in the solar system is the sun. The reason for this is that to fly directly into the sun you need to first launch from Earth, and then remove all of your orbital velocity around the sun. Anything less will just put you into a different orbit around the sun, rather than directly into it. The amount of power required for that to do it directly is basically impossible currently. As an alternative you could, for relatively little power, fly all the way out to Pluto distance, slow down much less, and then fall back into the sun. The trade-off being the travel time is now about 90 years. There are other in-between paths that could get you there for different balances of energy and time, but all of them are tougher than getting basically anywhere else in the solar system with an equivalent balance. There's a mission currently traveling to study the sun, the Parker Solar Probe. It won't be flying directly in, but plans to make the closest passes than any probe ever has. It's going to make 7 passes by Venus to shed speed so it can get closer and closer to the sun. The full flight time is planned as just less than 7 years. As of this post they are 1 week shy of a year in. Tell that to all the Kerbins I've melted in KSP. If you earned $1 every second, it would take 2,921 years to have more money than Bill Gates. It's okay, I think I'll survive earning $3,600 an hour. Yeah, 31.5 milliyears fine. If you shrink down our sun to the size of a white blood cell, the Milky Way galaxy will be equal to the size of the continental United States. Space is huge. Stalin, Hitler, and Freud all lived in Vienna at the same time. Imagine a sitcom with the Maulers roommates. Damn it Stalin, stop eating my food. It is our food, Freud. I will stop eating it when you stop banging your mother. Will you two Untermenschen kindly shut the fuck up? I'm trying to paint. I can't fuck this up. This is my last chance to get into the academy. Top 10 anime tragedies. When Mount Everest was first measured it was exactly 29,000 feet. It was reported as 29,002 because exactly 29,000 was not believable. Whoever decided that was the first man to put 2 feet on Everest.